A very good evening. This is Eswatini TV News at 8. I am Nosile Sitole. Alongside Zamanzi Manze, first up, let's have a look at our headlining stories. Government notes with great concern a statement issued by an entity called Multi-Stakeholder Forum as published by the print media in the country. The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority has held a 2-day export readiness training to grow the country's economy. National football team Sihlang Semnigadi has lost their second Group B game against Burkina Faso in the AFCON qualifiers. And now the news in detail. Government has taken note of the statement issued by an entity self-styled as Multi-Stakeholder Forum, MSF, as published by the print media in the country. Government wishes to respond as follows. The call for His Excellency, the Prime Minister, to consider resigning from his position is not only misplaced and misguided, but also baseless in the sense that it is premised on speculation and unproven allegations of failure to judiciously take responsibility and action for untested and unverified accusations leveled against some members of the Royal Eswatini Police Service as minister responsible. There's no authentic investigative process that has proven the fiction presented through the media as facts. Therefore, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Eswatini shall continue to execute his duties freely and fairly in line with the Constitution, which states when and how a Prime Minister relinquishes office. It is not at the call of certain individuals. While the MSF entity is making allegations and counter-allegations about who was or were responsible for the June 29 deaths, it is also interestingly calling for a commission of inquiry on the same. This demonstrates nothing else but their eagerness to brand other people as guilty until they prove themselves innocent. Now, that is not how justice functions. The contrary is rather very true, innocent until proven guilty. The call for the Commission of Inquiry is proof also that no party can state with certainty the events of June 29, and if lives were lost, it would be absurd to take action on the basis of this uncertainty. On the sentiments and opinions on a possible holiday declared solely to commemorate the death of some people during the June 29 unrest, government wishes to point out that it does not envisage a situation where a public holiday may be determined by situations and circumstances which there is absolutely no clarity or proper understanding and explanations on how, why, and who caused them. Finally, government urges all groups and individuals to, or rather eager to make a contribution on the next package of political reforms in the Kingdom of Eswatini, to give Sibaya an opportunity wherein all these issues will be discussed and a way forward be crafted by all Emaswati, not just a few individuals or groups of people. The Kingdom of Eswatini was part of Commonwealth countries who celebrated Queen Elizabeth II's Jubilee celebrations.
Last week, the United Kingdom celebrated Queen Elizabeth II's 70th Jubilee. The celebrations were spread over 4 days in different parts of the United Kingdom. The monarch in England sent an invitation to all Commonwealth member states, including the Kingdom of Eswatini, to be part of the celebrations. Indeed, His Majesty King Mswati III responded to the invitation by sending a team from the Umbutu Eswatini Defence Force to represent the kingdom. During the celebrations at the Birmingham Palace, the soldiers from Eswatini marched in front of the Queen while hoisting the Eswatini flag. The Queen applauded the monarch in Eswatini for supporting the British monarchy, including during this prestigious and historical event, not only in the history of the British monarchy, but the world as well. The team will be back in Eswatini this week. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Linton Gule, visuals courtesy of Eswatini soldiers in the United Kingdom.
The Ministry of Justice's Portfolio Committee at the House of Assembly on Tuesday welcomed the marital bill submissions from the Eswatini Interdenominational Ministers' Fellowship. The submissions include the growing inhumane trend of forcing widowers to evacuate the family house upon losing the spouse.
The Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs Portfolio Committee at the House of Assembly held a public hearing on the Marital and Matrimonial Bill of 2022. On Tuesday, the Portfolio Committee welcomed submissions from the Eswatini Interdenominational Ministers' Fellowship, which include the growing inhumane trend of forcing widowers to evacuate the family house upon losing their spouses. Members of the committee then responded to the submissions.
Lokufaka ekhathi kuthatha umfati kulobola nako konke ukuthi bathi nje bafundise ukuthi uma sekune divorce bathini bona.
It's important as bafundisi articulate ukuthi we entrench consultation a family before my assets emndeni are disposed. Ngiyavumelana nabo kulelo hlangothi.
Ngiyacela lokuthi nakhona nasiyibuka leyo siyibuke deep because kukhona lapho khona ukhanza ukuthi le property beyiyabo labantu abadzala. Ngimdzala nje mine ngehlulekile kukhona noma kuthola nemsebenzi. Encenye vele kahle liqiniso lithi make angabanaka laba bakhe bantwana but lo ngaphume siswini sakhe kanze encenye vele kuyabhetsa mbamba kuthi encenye laba ngase uyakuthola kumbe encenye akhone kuphakama kuleyo property.
Sitawucela kusitwa ngini bafundisi ekwekutheneni singayinika yipi definition lekwekuthi babe abe inhloko hayi le issue ye marital power abe inhloko ekhaya kungagibelani futhi netimiso te constitution bafundisi kwekuthi phela i-constitution seyiba elevateile nabo make kwekuthi sekufuneke siniketane emaphuba lalinganako emthethweni.
Chairperson of the Eswatini Interdenominational Ministers Fellowship, Reverend Dukamnisi, also concluded the fellowship submissions.
Sikusho nje kodwa la kule headship kulula ngoba sithi yonke inhlangano yonke kunabo CEO kunabo bani kune leader. Le leader akakusho ukuthi inemandla nje la unlimited. Kodwa nje akube ne leader. That's all we're saying. Headship, not powers. Ngoba le power ngiyo lesidungile. Ayibe ne leader nje ukuthi iya leader le leader i-leader kanje. Asilufake loluvalo lokuthi awusuhlala naye nje umntwana ebantu umuntu ngoba kuyendeka bahlonishwa ahlale naye umuntu intombatana Nkosi yami efika insololongo inhle ayona onke lamalanga udlala ngalomntwana ebantu kuthi nase kufika safuna kuthatha umfati after 10 years amshiye.
The portfolio committee is expected to continue with the public hearing exercise in due course. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samketso Koza with Vuminkosi Nsinisa, Parliament.
The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, EPA, has held a 2-day export readiness training to grow the country's economy through exports. EPA's export promotion manager, Sibusiso Mnisi, says the workshop seeks to increase the number of exporters in the country as they currently stand at 136.
The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, EPA, says Eswatini has over 50,000 micro, small and medium enterprises trading in domestic market with less than 200 exporters. On Tuesday, EPA, in partnership with the Southern African Trade and Investment Hub with USAID, hosted a 2-day export readiness workshop to increase the number of exporters in the Kingdom of Eswatini. EPA's export promotion manager, Sibusiso Mnisi, says the workshop seeks to align the Eswatini government's goal to grow the economy through exports. He says there is a need to train traders on how to be export ready and take advantage of trade opportunities in regional and international markets.
Lesikubukile kakhulu lapha ngilokuthi ubuteka indzaba nje kufula umnotho. Uhulumende vele uthi indlela lesingawufula ngayo ukuthi le live libuke indzaba tekuthengiselana nalamanye amave. Lokusho ukuthi ke somabhizinisi lolaveni kufuna nje asinakaqale business abuke vele ukuthi ngithengisa la khaya phinde futhi ngithengisa kulamanye amave. Ngekwenda njalo uhulumende uthi kunengilele stakutfola ukhanza ukuthi ibhizinisi mhlambe seyiyakhula uqashwa abantu nelive nalo selitfola lenginawuthi revenue leqhamuka ngephandle. So ke sibuke lokho kakhulu naloko ukuthi ke tibalo tethu nato tisitshengisile ukuthi bosomabhizinisi banenge even banenge kakhulu ngoba nawuthi nje ubuka somabhizinisi babuka micro small medium babale kubo 50,000 but letibalo lesinato tsine dabo somabhizinisi laba exportako nje labathengisela ngephandle ukhanze ukuthi incane njengoba sibekisa nje kusithi kubo 200 or even less. Lokusho ukuthi ke nasingathola nje bantu laba 100 for instance bangena ngala siyakhona ke ukuthi le export volume naleti imali esithola ngephandle ngoba nyalo lo 200 lengikhuluma ngayo nguye lo khona kuthengisa 30 billion annually worth of export revenue. Ema-figures ethu I think emelapho and ayakhula. So nasingathola ke labanye bangene utawukhanza ukuthi siyenyuka siya kubo 35 siya kubo 40 kwendeka naku kuhulumende la kusho ukuthi umnotho uyaphakama kanjani.
MSMEs on the workshop were also capacitated on the current Eswatini trade agreements, including the Taiwan-Eswatini Economic Cooperation Agreement, amongst others. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samgel Suekoza with Fumiko Sinsinisa, Eswatini.
The Country Coordinating Mechanism's Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Advocate Dlamini, says the Global Fund has commended the country's efforts to eliminate malaria, TB and HIV and AIDS. Dlamini says this has been said by the Global Fund mission team, who had a supportive supervision visit in Eswatini last week.
Last week, the Kingdom of Eswatini had a week visit from the Global Fund mission team for supportive supervision and to get to know the challenges in the implementation sides of the Global Fund-funded Eswatini programs. Chief Executive Officer at the country's Coordinating Mechanism, CCM, Dr. Advocate Dlamini says the Global Fund mission team has commended the country's efforts in the fight against HIV, malaria, TB, together with the COVID-19 pandemic. The country's coordinating mechanisms are national committees that submit funding applications to the Global Fund and oversee grants on behalf of their countries.
To see what could be the gaps, what could be the challenges from the implementation side of the whole support that Global Fund is giving our country. And also to reinforce bilateral partnership that Global Fund has on the ground, because you remember that as a country we do have quite a number of partners, quite a number of development partners that are on the ground supporting the Ministry of Health, particularly to the three diseases, which is HIV, TB and malaria. So also to come and reinforce that kind of a relationship, and also primarily also to look into government, to work with government, to make sure that agreements that were signed, concessions that we discussed, that they are done accordingly, because that is what would make, even going forward, the support for Global Fund to be easy to come to the nation. So that is generally their mandate, why they come to the country. And also to have face-to-face with key stakeholders to promote the support that they need for Global Fund.
Dr. Advocate Dlamini also unpacked how CCM works.
CCM is its core function, it is to make sure that they establish what to call linkages with other development partners that we have in the space of health, according to the three diseases, which is HIV, TB, and malaria. But of course, now we do have COVID-19 support, so that we avoid what we call duplication of support on the ground, because remember that we do have many other partners that we have as a country in support in the very same dimension of the three diseases. And also, the function of CCM, it is also to assist and to make sure that if there is a need for what we call reprogramming of the support from Global Fund, because you find that sometimes when the grant application has been done and along the way during the implementation phase, there is a need for some kind of support to be reprogrammed. The CCM is responsible for coordinating that time or that element and make some advocacy to Global Fund.
On another note, Global Fund invests $4 billion a year to defeat HIV, TB and malaria, and to ensure a healthier, safer and equitable future for all. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samgel Suekoza with Muslim Konta, Babane.
The Secretariat on Prevention of People Trafficking and People Smuggling is worried about the rise in cases of human trafficking and body mutilation in South Africa. According to the head of Secretariat, Nompumelelo Lukhele, parents and teachers need to ensure that they know the whereabouts of children at all times, since cases of mutilation of children are on the rise. Lukhele was speaking when addressing this thorny issue in her office in Mbabane.
The rise in cases of human trafficking and body mutilation in South Africa has caused Eswatini in the local office of the Secretariat on Prevention of People and Trafficking and People Smuggling to be worried. According to the head of Secretariat, Nompumelelo Lukhele, Eswatini have every right to be worried as this is happening just next to the country's borders.
Bantwana bangilabalahleka kakhulu singacela lokho ukuthi bantwana abahlale baphaseliso lemuntu lomdzala bantwana asilinge lokho ukuthi bangasali bodwana.
Lukhele says these cases are on the rise because of the growing need of these body parts which are needed for religious purposes.
Siphinze sicele ke lokho ukuthi nabo bantwana nabahamba akangahambi yedwa umntwana noma baphuma esikolweni noma bathunyiwe lakhaya.
She says late reporting can also increase the chances of finding that missing person dead.
Sikhathi sibaluleke kakhulu kubonakele kulamacala la ngaloko ukuthi lesikhathi nasichubeka sibasidze angakatholakali lo muntu lithuba lekuthi vele simthole asasilimalele libasedulu kakhulu.
Lukhele further stated that parents to young ladies should ensure that they know their children's whereabouts to ensure their safety. Lukhele also stated that strangers remain a threat, although familiar faces still can do harm to innocent people. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni in Mbabane.
Customers should consume healthy food and be sold food that meets certain standards at all times in supermarkets. These were words of the Director of Health, Dr. Vusi Makakula, during the commemoration of World Food Safety Day that was held at the Mbabane Market.
The theme for World Food Safety Day 2022 is Safer Food, Better Health. The way in which food is produced, stored, handled and consumed affects the safety of our food. Complying with global food standards, establishing effective regulatory food control systems including emergency preparedness and response, providing access to clean water, apply under the slogan Food Safety, Everyone's Business. The Mbabane City Council, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and WHO, toured the Mbabane market where they inspected food and other items if they meet international standards. The Director of Health Services, Dr. Vusi Makakula, says every supermarket and market is expected to sell hygienically clean food that meet certain standards required by the world globally.
Together, we can protect our food to enhance health and reduce health expenditure. This is the year of environmental health, as the World Health Day 2022 theme focus has also on the issues on environment.
The Mbabane Mayor Eswatini Nkambule says the town needs to work towards moving from grade C to at least B or even grade A.
The objective of today's function is to create awareness about the importance of food safety with specific emphasis on the prevention of foodborne illness. The World Health Organization estimated that unsafe food causes about 600 million cases of foodborne disease and 420,000 deaths annually.
Dr. Kevin Makatsange, who represented the WHO country rep, says members of the public should avoid conducting non-communicable disease through hygienically unclean food.
Each one of us here has a role to play in ensuring that the food on people's plates is safe to eat. Let us always take our food very seriously, as it can also be a threat to our health. Unsafe food poses national health threats, endangering everyone.
Inspectors from the Ministry of Health were also present during the tour, as well as representatives from SWASA. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB with Nonjabulo Makakula in Sansi Somlambo and Tantogutle Mdluli, Mbabane.
The Royal Eswatini Police Service has been able to recover 36 cars out of 45 cars that were stolen in the country. The Police Chief Information Communications Officer Pindile Vilagati says most of these cars that get stolen are Honda Fits. Vilagati was speaking when giving an update on investigations of car theft cases.
The rise in cases of vehicle theft since the beginning of the year has prompted the Royal Eswatini Police Service to work together with the Eswatini Umbufo Defence Force. According to the Police Informations Communications Officer Pindile Vilagati, 20 cars were taken at gunpoint in different places in the country, of which 14 were recovered, whilst 25 cars were stolen in different homes and 22 were recovered. Vilagati says 2 cars were recovered just few hours of being stolen.
Kukhona letimbili lesitfolile kuleli viki leliphelile labathi batithatha nje sive sahlaba yona inhlaba mkhosi saphuma nathi sasivengelele sagcina siyitfola lenye yakhona emafutheni nalenye futhi saphinza sayitfola bakhona nalababoshiwe kulobo bucala. Sevele siqinisile kakhulu khona lihlobo letimoto labatilandzelako.
She says that the police were able to identify the trend in these vehicles theft, which she said that the types of cars that are targeted are Honda Fit. She further reveals that it has been gathered that they strip off some of the parts of the car to sell. Vilagati urges people to report these kind of cases to the police just after the incident has occurred. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni in Babane.
And now let's have a look at our financial markets.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Good evening once again. Moving on, we'll have a look at our sports news. Senior men's national football team Sihlangu Semnigadi has lost their second Group B game against Burkina Faso in the AFCON qualifiers in a match played at the FNB Stadium in Johannesburg. Sihlangu, who are in Group B, is number 4 with just a single point.
Eswatini senior men's national football team Sihlangu Semnigadi on Tuesday played their second game in Group B of the AFCON 2023 qualifiers against Burkina Faso. Sihlangu came into the game hoping to get a good result after showing resiliency against Togo, where they drew 2-2. Sihlangu started the game very well in the first half. Unfortunately, the half ended goalless. Dominic Nene half-time team talk proved to be fruitful when Sabelo Nzinisa scored Sihlangu's goal through a good ball from Gwaketwala. The Sihlangu goal was like a World Cup call for Burkina Faso as they scored 2 quick goals. Sihlangu captain Lindo Mkondo received his matching orders after receiving a second yellow card. That proved to be costly as Burkina Faso got their third, which won them the match. Dominic Nene says even though they lost, but his players showed resiliency.
We knew it's going to be a tough one, but overall performance from the players, I was impressed. Except that maybe we relaxed a little bit after scoring our goal. So when playing against the best, you don't open games more, especially on your own half. So I think what is good with football is you may lose the game, but you learn something from the opponent.
After the results against Burkina Faso, Sihlangu has only 1 point in Group B and Burkina Faso has 6 as they have won their first 2 games. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, Alinda Dlamini with Parties on CB, FNB Stadium, Johannesburg.
Jabulo Mpamali, who is the Eswatini Tennis Association Regional Coordinator in the Lubombo region, says challenges such as facilities and finances are the main aspects currently slowing the sport within the Lubombo region. Mpamali was speaking during the recent Lubombo Regional Tennis Championships.
Jabulo Mpamali, who is the Eswatini Tennis Association Regional Coordinator, says inasmuch as kids have proved that there is indeed talent in regional tennis, especially in the Lubombo region, but different challenges continue to hit the sport, especially when it comes to finances.
Kufuna ukugcineni ulwane mdali like kumconvince understand that the sport, first of all, that is the biggest challenge, and you to face some challenges like you want to take the children outside, they have to fork out imali on their own pockets, but from there kufuna nakhona uzame ukubachazela ukuthi where is it gonna benefit lo mfana the thing.
Despite the challenges, players have already decided to think about their big dreams, to see themselves beyond the borders.
Very happy that coach teaches us tennis and she makes me so happy. I love the sport.
I feel so happy. Noma tennis iyakhona kusithatha sometimes kusuthi sihambise kulamanye ama countries but kanti asikhona but tennis engakhona ukuthi thina isithathe isihambise kulamanye ama countries.
Tennis ngiyayithanda very favorite sport yami and ngiyamthanda ucoach wethu because every time he'll do his best for us to know how to play tennis.
The Lubombo Tennis Tournament was one of the first regional championships that was aimed at looking at how far the association has come in capacitating regional tennis players, especially in the Lubombo region. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabiso Msonera with Linda Dlamini, Stegi.
That's all for now. Before we go, let's have a look at our top stories. Government notes with great concern a statement issued by an entity called Multi-Stakeholder Forum as published by the print media in the country. The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority has held a 2-day export readiness training to grow the country's economy. National football team Sihlang Semnigadi has lost their second Group B game against Burkina Faso in the AFCON qualifiers. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the crew. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.